Previous video, we looked at that function. This is, again, sorry, this is for February 3rd, February 6th. Now I'm going to go ahead and graph this function and talk about our domain range, interval of increase, interval of decrease. So let's annotate, if you will, our function here. We know that because of negative, we're actually multiplying our parent function by a negative. Excuse me. This means that we will reflect our function. Plus 2 inside of our function means we move to the left 2, and minus 1 outside means we go down 1. So I'm going to scale it to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. I highly recommend always drawing your parent function because if we have a square here, we know it's a quadratic. Just a side note, here, if we had this function, we would actually apply the same transformations. We would reflect, move left 2, down 1. The only thing is this cosine tells us our cosine function, our wave, right? So this square tells us the parent function. Cosine tells us the parent function. So that's a key piece. That's something we just talked about in class. What is the square telling us? It's telling us that it's a quadratic, which means this is our parent function. Now from here, I would recommend reflecting right away because if we don't, then we can get confused in terms of the graph. So I'm going to go ahead and reflect that and make that a longer dotted line. For right now, we're reflecting across the the x-axis. Now we move to the left 2, down 1. Left 2, down 1. We've already reflected. We don't need to worry about this graph anymore. So we would do... So this would be our function. So our solid line is our function. All right, so we still want to talk about domain, range, interval of increase, interval of decrease. Start with domain. If we're talking about domain, we're talking about the x values that the function can take. Well, we can plug any value in the negative direction inside of our function. It would also show up graphically on our function. Same thing with the positive direction. So our domain is negative infinity to infinity. Again, the domain is our x values. Range, we're talking about y values. So we think, what is the lowest value my function can take? Well, here these arrows means it goes down forever. So the lowest value would be negative infinity. The highest value on the x-axis, back up. The highest value on the y-axis, because we're looking at the y values, would be here, and that would be a negative 1. So from negative infinity, our lowest values, all the way up to negative 1, our function is defined. All right. I'm just going to write int of increase for our interval of increase and int of decrease for my interval of decrease. Now remember, we're talking about x-axis. We read our function left to right. If it helps you, all the way out here is negative infinity. All the way out here is positive infinity. So as I'm going from negative infinity, I'm moving to the right. I'm looking at my function. I'm thinking, as I'm out here, am I going uphill or downhill? Well, here, as I'm moving to the right, I'm actually going up my function, uphill. I'm going uphill. Even though the arrow is pointing down, this just tells me I'm going down forever. I mean, this could be like that, right? I'm going uphill still, uphill, uphill. So from negative infinity, where does it stop going uphill? It's right here at this point. The x value is negative 2. So I'm going uphill from negative infinity, uphill, uphill, uphill. I'm still going uphill all the way until I hit negative 2. Then I'll become flat. If you were to put a skateboard up here at the very top of the hill, it's not going to go down this way or that way. It's flat for a little bit. So from negative infinity all the way up until negative 2 on my x-axis, we're going uphill. Then we start going downhill, 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 downhill. So from -2, but be careful here. our function would go to negative infinity. Our function would go to negative infinity, but the x values go to infinity. From negative 2 on to infinity, my function will continue going downhill. So that is why our interval of decrease would be negative 2 to infinity and not negative infinity. Be careful. That's one of the most common mistakes I'm seeing. If you need to pause it, rewind, please do so. Get more practice for that. Now I'm going to flip to the back side. Kind of scaled it in three different ways. First, I'm going to give you the function. I went ahead and graphed the function. So if you want to try to graph these, pause it, try to graph those functions. This is what the graph should look like. I recommend trying that on your own. And then here I actually labeled what's happening to the function and gave you domain, range, interval of increase, interval of decrease for this function. Domain, range, interval of increase, interval of decrease for this function. I didn't graph those. I recommend you graphing these functions here and seeing if your domain, range, interval of increase, interval of decrease match up with what I have here. I'm going to go back here, back to these graphs. Again, pause it, try to graph these. But let's talk about quickly domain, range, interval of increase, interval of decrease. I'm just going to do it for this function, and then I'm going to let you do the rest. Domain, again, it goes forever. It keeps expanding out in both directions on the x-axis. So our domain here would be negative infinity to infinity. If we're talking about range, we're talking about the lowest point on the y-axis to the highest point. What's the lowest value that our function here could take? Well, it goes down forever. So our lowest value would be negative infinity, and our highest value is here. Now the temptation is to put negative 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But our range, we're talking about y values. So it would be negative infinity to 0. Interval of increase, I look at my function. I go from negative infinity. It makes the turn here, and then it does something else there. Well, from negative infinity, here I'm going uphill, uphill, uphill. Where does it stop going uphill? Here. What's the x value? Again, we're talking about x values when we're talking about interval of increase, decrease, because we read our function left to right. Negative infinity, and going on the x-axis to negative 7, my function is going up. From negative 7 on to infinity, my function is going down. So that would be our interval of increase versus decrease. Again, pause, rewind, whatever you got to do. These are the graphs of these functions. I gave you those. Now from this, see if you can determine domain, range, interval of increase, interval of decrease. Here, this is more to check your work. Go ahead and graph those functions. See if you come up with the same things. Here, I'll leave those there for a few more seconds so if you want to pause it. If you have questions, please let me know. Ask me in class, outside of class, however you want to do that. Please let me know. Oh, real quick, disregard the second page. We don't need to worry about that. This we'll do in the next set of videos.